Why, yes, Sir Patrick, I am following your hashtag sauna today. Yes, I listen to it in bed at night. You have such a lovely voice. It gets me all warm and tingly under the covers, if you know what I mean. Sir Patrick, I'm going to have to let you go. It's time for my show. But I'll see you tonight in my dreams. No, you make it so. Bye-bye, Sir Patrick. That Sir Patrick Stewart is so charming and so handsome. Chills. Anyway, welcome to Quarantini, Cocktails and Song with Mr. Drag. I'm your host, Mr. Drag. You know, last week, dear audience, I put a little note in the credits saying that if you had a cocktail you wanted me to make for you, just to send me a message. Well, I was overwhelmed by the tens of you that responded, but there was one in particular, and the name on the email was Sierra Leone, and I thought, that's a beautiful name. Well, I was so impressed with the effervescent email that this individual sent that I thought, why not have them on the show? And so, if you don't mind, audience, I'm going to call them up and ocular chat with them. Hello? Are you there?
Oh, hello, Mr. Drag.
Marina Goldman. I should have known you'd find a way to whittle on to my show, and I see you didn't even bother to do your hair. I haven't heard from you in a long time, Marina.
Well, you have been at the top of my list of COVID calls to make, but I've been so busy on Zoom and I've had so many projects. But when I saw you made that drink for Steve and Edie last week, I thought, you do know I was one of the Saint-Germain girls. Don't you think you should make a drink named after me? I bet you don't know which one I was.
Well, I'm sure I don't know, and I'm positive I don't care. But I'm sure you used your assets to get that job. And if I were to make a cocktail for you, it would consist of tequila, orange juice, and a rash. Crazy, fruity, and annoying. Anyway, Marina, how have you been? Still healthy, wealthy, and healthy?
Well, actually, now that you mentioned it, this is my first martini after getting out of the hospital. I had an emergency appendectomy last week. I can't tell you how difficult it was. I mean, I was home all alone in excruciating pain, and...
Well, that's lovely, Marina. You know, let me ask you this. You're a world traveler. I mean, you've done porn in Vietnam. Your boobs were in Germany while you were still here in Western Massachusetts. Still not sure how that happened. But with this time of quarantine, you are, luckily for the rest of us, confined to your abode. But I know you did lots of traveling everywhere. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about one of those travels? I'm sure they're very interested.
Well, let me see. There was that time that I showed the film that I was working on at Yad Vashem in Israel.
Luckily, dear audience, this was all pre-recorded, so I can just fast forward ahead so we don't have to sit through the long, boring story.
And that's just a long-winded way to tell you about the time when I got paid 10 times what Tom Hanks got paid.
Well, thank you, Marina, for that stimulating story. You know, I was so engrossed with it, the time just seemed to fly by. It was over before it began. Well, thank you, Marina, for joining me this week on Quarantini. I'm sure I'll hear from you soon. Bye-bye. I thought that would never end. Block. You know, all this talk of travel has reminded me of the time that my sisters, Kat and Dee Dee, and I started an airline. It was called DWA, Drag World Airlines. You probably haven't heard of it because we only cater to the very wealthy and elite. I did the PR, Kat flew the plane, and Dee Dee was the stewardess. I believe you call them flight attendants or non-binary aviary servers now. That's how I met Joan Collins. We were flying her from Los Angeles to London. She was on hiatus from Dynasty and was going to the West End of London to do a musical production of her hit B-movie, The Empire of the Ants. How did that song go again? Oh, yes. Where's that ant with its stinger? That little ant that crawls through the cracks? Where's that Anne so I can kill it? And why did I never buy that damn Raid Max? It was a short-lived musical, but it brought us a very long and wonderful friendship, didn't it? But the airline didn't last very long. Kat had a habit of falling asleep at the wheel, and by falling asleep I mean that she would pass out from procuring too many nips from Dee Dee's cart. So we decided to get out of the aviation business. We briefly considered going back into the dirigible business, but, after Kat forgot to put her cigarette out on the Hindenburg that time, we thought probably not. Anyway, all this talk of aviation has me inspired for this week's cocktail, the paper plane. Audience, I was so inspired by the bourbon-based Stephen Edie from last week that I decided to stay with bourbon as my base this week. And a very good fan of mine, Andrea Kuninson, suggested the paper plane, and I was very excited to do it. So, let's start. What you're going to need is 1 ounce each of bourbon, Aperol, and Amaro. I'm using a Montenegro, coincidentally the name of one of my former lovers. Oh, and the juice of half of a lemon. And now you're going to put it all in your shaker over ice. And yes, audience, this week we are back to shaking vigorously. Yes, shake vigorously, vigorously, vigorously. Shake like you shake when Dev Patel is running his fingers all along your thighs. I hope that was good for you too. And then you are going to strain it into your glass. This week I'm using a cup. There we go. Just strain it right in there. You could garnish with a lemon twist if you want. You don't have to. And voila, I present the paper plane. Run and tell all of the angels this could take all night. I think I need a devil to help me get things right. Looking for a new evolution, 'cause this one is a lie. We sat around laughing and watched as the last one died. Well, I'm looking to the sky to save me, looking for a sign of life, looking for something to help me burn out bright. I'm looking for a complication, looking 'cause I'm tired of trying. Make my way back home when I learn to fly. Make my way back home when I learn to. I wish that I could fly into the sky so very high, just like a dragonfly. I fly above the trees, over the seas, to all degrees, to anywhere I please. I want to get away, I want to fly away. I want to thank you all for joining me this week on Quarantini, Cocktails and Song with Mr. Drag. I'm Mr. Drag. Your drink this week was the paper plane. My guest was the incomparable Marina Goldman. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, practice your social distancing, and if you can donate to the Venmo in the credits, please do so. I'll see you next week. Cheers! I want to get